For this next lesson, we want to start with a supplied file, MCU internal boring. This is a solid part that has an ID that has been pre-drilled, but we need to come back in with a boring bar and finish off the inside diameter. So first, to do this, I want to expand the information that we have in the toolpath group. And we can either do that by hitting the plus or minus sign next to a toolpath, or we can use E on the keyboard to allow us to expand and collapse each of these. What I want to focus on in here is going to be the parameters that were already used for our drilling operation. And notice that we're using a chip break, and the drill that we're using is 0.75 inch diameter. In some cases, you'll be able to modify some of the previous operations to use a drill bit that matches the inside diameter. However, if there are internal features or certain types of geometry, you might need to come back and create an internal boring toolpath, whether it's to meet a specific internal diameter tolerance value or just to match that internal geometry. To do this, since we've already pre-drilled this hole, we're going to use the general finishing toolpath. And for our chain, we're going to select just the inside diameter or edge of that wireframe. For the tool, we're going to use our tool filter options. We're going to start by selecting none, then select the boring bar operation, and then use the ID tools operation and say OK. Then we're going to select tool number 72. This is going to be an ID boring comment. And I'm going to turn on my tool display option as well. From here, we want to go into our finishing parameters. The finish direction is already preset, and stock to leave is set to 0 because we are using this for a finishing toolpath. However, I do want to increase the number of step overs that we're using and modify my lead in and lead out values. For my lead in, I'm going to slightly extend this contour by 0.1. And for the lead out, I'm going to extend this as well. This is going to be 0.1, which will go past the end of that contour that's selected. And we can also modify the exit vector if needed. Right now it's set to -45, which means the tool will come into this bore and then back and down. So we're going to say OK and allow that to work. Notice the preview on the screen shows that we have 2 passes cutting that geometry. If we turn off the update stock temporarily, we can see that first pass just barely cuts into the stock, and then the second pass comes and finishes it. If we want to make any adjustments to these parameters, we can always come back in, and for example, we can add 3 cuts at 0.05 if we want to take smaller cuts based on the tool or insert that we're using. We regenerate this. Again, turning off update stock, we can see that first cut just barely cuts in, the second cut is halfway between, and then the last cut does our finishing pass. Everything looks pretty good here in terms of the geometry, the entry and exit amounts, and everything that's being cut. So from here, I want to make sure that we save this file before we move on.